What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Tide Talk. It's Sunday, it's already August 3rd, and we're here to share our thoughts on RIFC's 2-0 USL Championship loss in Pittsburgh. Just a reminder, each episode is available on YouTube, and if you're watching now, please take a second to subscribe to our channel if you're not already, and click that like button on this video. You can also find us on your favorite podcast applications like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you listen on one of those, we'd really appreciate it if you leave us a 5-star rating, better than the team's rating right now, and a short review, as it helps more people find Tide Talk. One last plug, if you're not already using the RIFC Club Collector app, go into that code Tide Talk 25, all lowercase, all one word, to get an exclusive pack added to your collection today. So cozy up, crack a bear. Let's dive into this one. I've dubbed this one free group therapy, Ryan. Like, I'm getting to the point of I don't know what to say anymore on Sunday nights over here. If you were to tell me going into the summer that I'd be more invested into reading a fucking book on my Kindle than RIFC, I would have told you you are a crackhead. But that's exactly where I'm at. Leviathan Wakes, book 1 of The Expanse, is a true gem and is much better than anything RIFC has put out on the field over the last couple of weeks. Watching The Lazarus Project on Netflix, also awesome. Sky TV, a little UK flair in there. Really, really good stuff. And another 1-2 papaya podium as Lando Norris took home the checkered flag in the Hungarian GP with Oscar Piastri right behind him. Very fun ending if you're a Formula One fan and missed today's race. I know we usually do Tire Talk as our cold intro for the shitty performances, and tonight would dub it, and it was a very good Grand Prix. But unfortunately, we have to talk about this shitstorm that was the 2-0 loss in Pittsburgh. You, my friend, have just gotten back from Ireland. You are lagging beyond belief, not on the internet side, but just in life in general. How was your trip, buddy?
It was good. I'm just laughing that RIFC is getting kids into summer reading. This might be a good thing. We're gonna see reading rates in the Rhode Island area spike this summer because the kids just don't want to.
Thank you for calling me a kid, by the way. Older than you, I appreciate that. I can definitely
listen. The jokes, we'll see how they land today. I'm in a lot of different places, but Ireland was fantastic.
I don't know if I expected a Guinness from you or a bottle of Irish whiskey, but
honestly, it's water tonight.
Yeah, you are non-alcoholic. I figured based on the kind of trip that you had, but you didn't tune into FQB space, so I have to plug FQB, our guy Kevin, for his space last night. It was a very fun kind of bashing of all things that are going wrong, and I blamed you for everything, Ryan. I blamed you for the way the tides have turned. You put out in one of our emails that it was the lowest of lows, and when I first read it, I thought like, oh shit, he's calling this way too early, and here we are. I don't even remember which game it was. Yeah, I don't even remember, but like we are lower than that right now for sure. Craig said today, RIFC is the new Papagino Summer Reading Club. Pizza Hut's got those $2 personal pan pizzas now on Tuesdays, and you don't even have to read a fucking book to get it. But here I am, like 400 pages in on Leviathan Wakes, and
as someone who's currently trying to finish the Expanse series, it's an absolute banger.
I will say I'm a little depressed on what Craig told me about the next book. So, damn it, Craig.
It's good. It's still good.
I might boycott Club Collector for a little while, but
if you look at my scores this season, you would think I have been. So,
Gator knows. Poor guys podcasting on a day like this. This is our normal filibuster into a shit performance. But I guess how was your return back stateside, Ryan?
It was good. I woke up at the equivalent of 2 a.m. here. Smooth flight, lovely. Nice thing about flights nowadays, you just get free Wi-Fi. So shout out to Delta. We got some slides, folks. I had 6.5 hours to ponder about Rhode Island FC, and honestly, it was a good thing that the fucking plane door was locked, because boy, oh boy, at the end of these slides get pretty sad.
So it was not Mark Cohn. You were not touching down in the land of the Delta Blues. Maybe you got Delta Blues from watching this fucking performance, I guess. I don't know.
I'll be honest, that one adds way over my head right now.
Walking in Memphis, one of the greatest songs.
Okay.
Deep cut, I guess. I don't know. But so I don't know. Do we want to do the lineup first? Do we want to do...
I think there's some good stuff in the lineup.
Takes. Let's start with the lineup, I guess. I guess that's enough filibustering, but shit, I'm just down as you can tell, as you can see. If you're watching this, I'm sorry if you're listening to this on the audio. We always pump the YouTube. YouTube is where it's at. It's where the true sickos enter the chat, and I know the chat will be popping off all night throughout this one. Here's the lineup on Flop Mob: Jackson Lee and Net, Karifi Yao, Hugo Baccarat, Ome Abika, Jose Quizera, Noah Fuson, Maxi Rodriguez, Marky Barra, Amo Shabira Thompson, JJ Williams, and Albert Chico Dequa. First glaring thing I noticed when looking at this, Ryan, where the fuck is Clay? This is a lineup that I think Clay very easily could have slotted into his natural midfield position. So I was kind of upset that he was not in the 11. And I'll talk more later in this one when we talk substitutes about his usage and how it infuriated me a little bit more throughout this one. But what did you make of this one when you saw it an hour ahead of kickoff? Yeah,
well, the funniest thing was I checked FOTMob and because I was still awake, and it had like all these other names in it. I was like, I was very confused. I was like, wow, Frank really like healed up quickly from that hamstring injury. But so first up, nice to see Maxi back. I talked a lot about that last time. No need to rehash why I was really upset about Max not playing. Hated not seeing Clay in there. So it's just like you see one thing, you're like, oh, that's great, and then it's like, oh, but why do that? Like, why then handicap yourself in a different way, or why hurt yourself in a different way? Amos at right wing back was very interesting to keep Noah middle. Love Amos. I don't think he's
not a wing back.
Not a wing back. He tried his ass off,
especially after scoring a goal. Throwing him at wing back, I feel like is almost insulting.
Yeah, I mean the thing I'm struggling with this is like I can't sit here every week and say something needs to change and then complain when he changes it, because it's like, well, it is something new. But I'm also struggling because like this is not the reasonable thing that I would do if I was like, I have to pick 11 players from who's available. I would struggle to come up with this and put them in this formation.
I think
which is not correct on the screen for the record.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest gripes of RIFC supporters this season is play the best 11. And I think you had a better 11 than this available. And this is what we saw. And it was kind of like, I get it. Like, we're going to be on a short week coming up and all that. We got the midweek and all that. But, like, this had a lot of question marks in it.
Well, it's also hard, too, when it's like playing three center backs against a team that, like, really struggles to score, like Pittsburgh. It's tough because, like, I think we just had absolutely no control in this one, which, especially in that first half, it was just very, like, bland. Like, no team could kind of get a stranglehold on the game. And it felt like we just had a non-existent midfield. But it's because we loaded up a little bit more at the back. And it's just one of those ones where you try to figure out why we're making the decisions we're making. It's like, okay, we're not playing who we think is the best. There has to be some other grand reason behind it. And it's like, okay, let's look at our opponent. And it's just like, well, with this opponent who can't score goals but is like very stout defensively, why are we then not loading up on at least in the middle, if not more, in the attack? So, just another confusing decision in like a season of them, really.
For sure. Sean Buxton says in the chat, where does the Maxi love come from? He's done nada for us. I said this last week, and I kind of stood on my soapbox with this one. I really think there's some kind of internal struggle or conflict between Maxi and Kano right now, because we haven't seen Maxi utilized in the same, way, shape, or form for multiple games in any succession. We've also seen Maxi be the first one out. We've seen him be the first one dropped in lineups, and him coming in today for Clay. I just felt interesting with that lineup. There was nobody for him to really kind of link up with or kind of connect to. He struggled getting on the ball in this one. I still love the fire, the passion that he plays with, but I think the Maxi situation is one to really keep an eye on. Like I said, it's just the gut. I know nothing. There's no insider knowledge of anything, but I just feel like something is not right. He just doesn't seem happy playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, so with Maxi, it's like he's, I think, joint top or is the top of goals and assists on this team. He's the best FOTMob rating on this team for the season. He's taking the most shots per 90. He's creating almost the most chances on this team. He's created like almost all the big chances. I'm struggling to see like I don't think he's having some standout season.
Right, but I know there's a lot of Maxi hate going on out there right now.
I just don't get. I don't get that part.
I don't think it's justified. That's kind of where I was going back with that. I think that on paper what a hell of a signing he was. 10 goals, 5 assists, first team all league last year. If you can get a guy like that in, absolutely, to improve your squad, you have to bring him in. But something's not clicking, and I don't think it's strictly because of him. We're going to talk about coaching a lot later in this one, but this midfield has just been such a hodgepodge and mismatch of players and revolving doors that I just don't think we've been able to utilize him at all correctly. But the points that we've needed him to, he's stood up to the penalty spot. He's converted. He's had some big moments. He had the goal against the Revs. I think the Maxi hate is unwarranted. I think a lot of it is more bigger picture issues than Maxi himself.
Well, I think it's all about like what people thought he was going to be when they came in. Like, I think people thought he was going to be this like really flashy number 10 scoring a ton of goals. Like, yes, he scored 10 goals last year. I think almost half of those were from the penalty spot. So when you look at that, so let's say it's 6 goals and 4 assists from open play. That's not someone who's getting a goal or an assist every single game. So if you're expecting that out of him, that's not what his game is, and never has been and never should have been the expectation. I mean, we wrote about it in the signing blog. Like, he's a really good duel winner. He's someone who can play that deeper role and really kind of spray the ball around, play people out.
He's a leader.
He's a leader. But like when he's, again, to what you're saying, when he's playing with a different lineup every single week, has yet to play with JJ Williams, really. Like, this was one of the first times they've ever started together. And yeah, we have all different kinds of midfield constructions. Like, him and Clay have rarely played together.
Him and Clay have been on the field more times where Clay's played right wing back than been a midfielder pairing with Maxi. Rhett says in the chat, I think fans are frustrated because we expected and know he's capable of much better. And Matt Hands adds, the Maxi hate is based off his expectations. But to your point, Ryan, the 10 goals and 5 assists is less than 1 goal contribution per game based on the 34 game schedule that we see here with the USL Championship. So, yeah,
well, and the other thing too, like I think to your point about expectations and what people like, the entire team is at fault for that right now. There's not a single player who's playing up to what we expected them to play this season. Again, maybe the only person who was really doing well before they got hurt was Koke, but there's not a single player that I think is at a place where we're like, you know what, that's exactly what I expected or more. Maybe someone like an Amos. I think Amos is having a solid season for maybe, who knows what his expectations were coming off the injury, but yeah, basically no one else. Yeah, I mean, I could say maybe Kevin. Maybe Amos, not Kevin.
Right. He got there.
Not sure about his expectations.
Martin brings up a great point too. Dequa has 5 goals and 4 assists, and Maxi has 5 goals and 3 assists, and both of them have been the most criticized players on this team out of anyone. And I think he's spot on with that comment. If you scroll RIFC Twitter, you see these two getting bashed regularly. You see it in the Discord. You see it on RIFC Nation on Facebook. But these are the players that are actually contributing stat-wise the most. It's not what we would expect or hope, or we would hope better. I expect, obviously that's a totally different metric, but which will go out the window with fans and all that. But, these are the two guys that are actually producing something for this team.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think, Footy has a good point. Some of those stats were kind of padded against some lower league teams there, but but even the championship, right? Like, Chico has 2 goals. He actually has the most goals and assists in the league this year at 5. When you put both those together, Clay's there with 3 and Maxi with 3 as well. So to your point, I do think the hate. Listen, for Chico, I have been right up there. I don't think he's ever lived up to the hype. Talk about someone that we all expected to come in and kind of be this like absolute like flash in the pan, like firestorm, like pumping in the goals. I don't think no one could ever live up to that hype. But again, it goes back to expectation, but also goes back to, again, what you were saying is this is a much bigger, more fundamental problem with this team. I don't think there's a single individual that you can point to on the pitch that you can say like this is this specific person's fault.
Absolutely not. Matt Hands had a very good point too. At Footy New England, I was once told the USL 1 team beating Hartford, a USL championship team, wasn't an upset. So, it depends on beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. I do want to go to Craig's comment too while I have lineups pulled up and talking about that. As long as Kano insists on playing the back 5 line with wingbacks, we won't ever see the best 11 on the pitch. The lineups don't allow for it unless he's willing to change the formation and system. So for those of you that might be a little bit newer to soccer and, talking footy and tactics and all of that, back 5, back 3 gets kind of mishmashed with the way you talk about it. Anytime you talk about a back three or back five, you're talking three center backs and two wing backs. And the wing backs, when you talk about a back three, they're more joining the midfield. They also could be considered part of the back five. So you're playing with, five defenders, if you will. Our strength in the squad, our strength in numbers is in the midfield. And I totally agree with Craig on this one. As long as we continue to deploy these tactics and formations, it just doesn't work. I know Racing Anchor said a lot about how Kano really envisioned and built this team around JJ. Last minute, Chico became available, and it kind of changed the way he had to do things. But the 3-5-2 would accommodate the two strikers, but it does not work with the talent that we have in this midfield and utilizing these midfield players at their best positions. So it's a big hamper. 4-3-3 with this squad, I think, makes the most sense. I think we've talked about it at nauseam at times, but why do you bring in a player like Danny Rivera, who has not featured, prominently at all? He's only made substitute appearances if he's not going to get on the pitch. I think Aldair did a fine job at it. I don't think Aldair could play left wing back in a full back four defensively as much as we would want him to. So I think that it's just such a mismatch of players trying to put square pegs into round holes into this 3-5-2 that we just don't have right now.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the fact that Amos is playing right wing back is it's just
ridiculous. Like I said,
after
scoring a goal in open play in a match, you take him out of his midfield position and put him at right wing back. I think it's almost criminal.
Yeah, and it's all about how you deploy the resources too, right? It's great that we have Chico and JJ on there, but then you look at the bench and it's we have a single true attacker to bring on and change the match if something happens. We don't have but we still have a shitload of midfielders we can throw on there. So you might as well start there and then have the flexibility throughout the match, then chop change, bring on some firepower off the bench against some tired legs. We just don't. Yeah, we don't preserve any of that there either. So, and again, having a system where you're really relying on wingers, and I think Quizera is probably the only out and out winger we have. I do think Noah could play it, but that didn't work out this season. But between the two of them either. So
sure.
Yeah, there's the thing that's hard about this team right now is that the way the roster was built. I think we did our midseason report card. It really isn't making a lot of sense in terms of who we have and kind of what positions are available to fill out the formations we're playing. And then you could say that the coach is currently not getting the best out of the team, and then the team on the pitch is not performing at their level. So we're on not a single person in the organization at this point, except for our guy Harry, is meeting the expectations.
All right, Harry's the GOAT. Harry is the GOAT. I do want to go to a comment from Santiago Restrepo in the chat. Is it possible to play Clay, Maxi, and Amos in the midfield together, or not a good idea? What do you guys think? Plus, let them play together so they get consistency. Personally, I don't think this trio would be the 4-3-3 that we need. I think you can pick two of those, but you have to throw in a healthy Ibarra or a healthy Haraval with the other two of those.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that at all. I mean, I agree. I wouldn't hate trying this. I at this point, try it. As long as
I think the good part of that is you have three dogs. You have three ballers in there that are going to go out and leave it all on the pitch. So I get that part of it, but I think you need a disruptor. I think you need a kind of a dump truck cement mixer that'll go in there and win tackles. And I don't see it with that trio.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, sorry guys, this is jet lag kicking in.
That was Guinness dry mouth.
Yeah, Guinness dry mouth. The midfield three that I was really advocating for when we signed Maxi was a midfield three of Maxi Rodriguez, Clay Holstad, and Zachary Haraval. I think that was kind of the upgraded version of what we saw really work well for us last year in Ibarra, Haraval, and Holstad. So I think we saw it for one half of a match at one point earlier in the season. I was extremely excited. Didn't work as well as we thought, but again, there's just dysfunctional things happening all over the pitch here. So I mean, more to come. I mean, Haraval, I have zero idea when he's coming back. He's been injured forever. I think we heard he was sick. That's super unfortunate, but I do think having Ibarra with those other two, that is very much a very established, very veteran midfield that I think could really pull you through a lot of these games, a lot of these fights, which is what we really saw in the spirit of this team last year.
I agree with you. I'm a big Marky Barra fan. I've always said,
Mhm.
like, during his absence, that I think he was one of the biggest glaring misses in having that true six in there. I think he plays the six a little bit better than Harava. I think Harava's a little bit more of an eight. He's gets a little bit more forward. It's something I would like to see. I just don't know how the rest of that back four would round out. In a 4-3-3, which is what I think we need to play, and it's just tough to watch right now. But first half, not too much to talk about. It kind of reminded me of a boxing match, two boxers really kind of feeling each other out. Pittsburgh did have the lion's share of possession, 57%. We outshot them 5-4. They had 3 on target, just 1 for RIFC, 0 big chances for each team. Pittsburgh completed 175 passes at 77%. We completed 118 at 71. 9 fouls for Pittsburgh, 6 for Rhode Island FC, and 2 corners apiece. Any big glaring standout moments from the first half for you, Ryan?
I wrote first half boring. In
Very
my big
extremely.
notes. Yeah, I did actually catch this live, so I got back to my hotel room and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, I can watch this on YouTube," and it's about to start right now. And it was great because it put me right to bed. But yeah, pretty boring one. I thought it was interesting. It seemed like we were getting a little bit more action on corners. Nothing good, but like I was like, okay, maybe some minor improvement here. Again, not good enough. They seemed to have a strategy of they were trying to take shots quickly outside the box, which I think we saw work well for them in the second half. But yeah, overall, it just seemed like no team could get a foothold in this one. Both teams pretty absent from midfield. And yeah, just a lot of like sloppy play on both ends. So a boring one. I think it's what we kind of figured was going to happen. This was going to be one of those games where the team to score first is probably going to win it if someone scores. And spoiler alert, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think we expected full-on Bob Lilly ball, and we saw it. And my God, was he looking more like Peter Griffin than ever last night with the sweatpants and the oversized shirt. And I think it was FQB that pointed it out on Twitter. Like, there was a fan holding one of their flags, like a capo, it seemed, in the Pittsburgh section, calling for Lilly out. Never missed the playoffs in his tenure with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Crazy.
RAFC has still never scored a goal against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
In the league, before people get about
in the league,
talking
yeah,
about the Jägermeister Cup in the chat.
In the league, and we'll talk about the Jägermeister Cup and priorities a little bit later on. But we have to get there. We are at that fucking point. Matt Hand said that guy must be an outsider. Absolutely, outsiders are absolutely the worst. Just cringe upon soccer culture here in America. But that's a really loud car going by. I'm sorry. Yeah, windows open. We're in crowded corners there. But it is. I think the first half is exactly what we expected, and in the second half, things took a much more different change for the worse, and that started just 6 minutes in. And I apologize if the audio doesn't pop up right away, because Streamlabs was being a pain in the butt today with adding videos. But here is the first Pittsburgh goal.
Bob Lilly, one of the best. Always enjoyed talking to him as well. Jockerson, it's Williams! They've been trying to get him going. And Williams gets the Hounds on the board with the 80th goal in his storied career. 1-0 to the Hounds early in the second half.
That lady was awesome with the smokes, though. I will say that.
Him. We've been talking about him throughout the first half. He's got to come good. He needs service. But doesn't he strike us so well? He's got big guys all around in there making it difficult, but he hits us from, 23, 24 yards out at the near post. Did he catch Jackson Lee out, perhaps the goalkeeper? Or was it a deflection? Because Jackson Lee hasn't even dived for it. He's just dropped down to his knee. But as I say, you don't win a raffle if you don't buy a ticket.
So Hugo and Yao make a mess of trying to clear that ball and get rid of it. And then Jackson absolutely glued to his line, didn't expect the shot, whatever it was, just a pretty bad moment. I think that both defenders would want to get back. And then Jackson would also really want to get back on that one. Not his finest moment in an RFC shirt. We can all definitely agree on that. But what's your take on that first goal to give Pittsburgh the 1-0 lead?
Yeah, and honestly, not a ton to add from there. I feel like we give up a lot of goals with like all three of our center backs in like the vicinity of one guy and the person scores. Like I feel like that happens more often than any other team I've ever seen, where like each guy has like almost a foot on it, which honestly then makes it way harder for the keeper. So you have to assume Jackson was just screened there with all three of our massive center backs screening him. But yeah, I mean, not a good goal to give up, especially when you have numbers back. Like, it should be settled. Someone needs to get a play on the ball and stop him from taking that shot. And yeah, we don't. Very bad, very bad. Especially because again, with Bob Billy, like, okay, great, we let them score. That team is gonna set up shut up shop, and that's it.
Joe says in the chat, didn't see it. Yeah. Two huge bodies blocking his view. You know, I think if you look back to, it was like the 85th minute or so, Jackson had an absolutely outstanding save. Like, I think if RIFC had been in this game, it would probably be nominated for save of the week. He had a nice, fully sprawled, tip over the bar at full extension that really showcased his shot stopping abilities. But I think the fact that he didn't move at all, I think really speaks that he was screened out. Outsiders might tell you that he's just the worst keeper in the world, and that's what it is. But that's why they're just outsiders on Twitter, and it's absolute shit. But not Jackson's best performance, but I do think that one save that he had in the 85th or so was absolutely top notch. And really good stuff. But unfortunately, things went from bad to worse for RIFC just 6 minutes later, as Pittsburgh was able to double the lead and get back on the board for the final goal in this one.
And it's won by Pittsburgh.
Oh, good feet.
Derailed. And then the switch. Jacquesin around Bacharach. Bertrand Jacquesin! Top shelf, 2-0, Riverhounds, and Jacquesin finally has his first in league play in 2025. Quality stuff.
What a finish from Bertrand Jacquesin. It's a real tight angle, and he thumps it. How he gets it into the net, I don't know, because the angle suggests he might want to try and cross it. Beats his man there, Bacharach, but at that near post, Jackson Lee shouldn't really be beaten. However, the power he's put behind that shot, absolutely brilliant from Jacquesin. 2 goals against Portland in the Cup, and now 1 here today. He puts his name out to the fans, and they will.
So if you're in the chat, if you could let us know, could you hear the audio on that? Because like I said, Talk Studio is being a absolute pain in the butt, and it was much easier to do it this way. So as long as you could hear the audio, that would be good. Because
Matt Hand's talking about Vuvuzela, so I think we're good.
Yeah, Matt Hands wants to know, was this game played in South Africa in 2010? Maybe the best World Cup opening video of all time, intro song and all of that. It was good stuff. It was really good stuff.
The bar I was at last night, started playing the Waka Waka song. It was a great time.
There you go.
I have it again.
Good. We get a yes to audio, so that is good. So that makes my life a hell of a lot easier uploading these clips, because I tried for about 30 minutes uploading the videos to the platform, and that did not work. So the share feature, much better there. But JJ is pressed, dispossessed, and kind of gives up on it, and doesn't really retaliate, counter press on that one, and allows to a big change of pitch, which we don't.
Get to JJ retaliating in a second, don't worry.
Oh yeah, we will. We get the big change of pitch there that we never see from RIFC. And it leads to Hugo kind of getting pantsed and Jackson giving up one on a really tight angle.
Yeah, so a lot of like little things that led up to this goal. Number one, that dribble that guy made after he got away from JJ was really nice. I gotta give him credit there.
Yeah.
But then
he under no pressure, under no duress.
Yeah, once he made those quick 1-2 moves, like absolutely no pressure on him, which again is very unlike what we have seen in the past from this Rhode Island team. Gets a full cross-channel switch to get the winger one-on-one with a center back, which is insane. At first I was like, oh, Hugo, it's fine. He's left-footed. He's not left-footed. I don't know why I've thought that this whole time. He's very much a right-footed center back. So he gets taken to his strong side, and then he stabs at him, and it's just from then on 1 step behind him. Great finish. As the announcer said, I'm sure Jackson wouldn't have loved getting beat near side there, but that guy absolutely smoked that into the top.
That was it was hit really well.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's much Jackson could have really done there. But yeah, just like an odd goal for us to give up, especially with us being the ones who should be chasing this one.
Right.
It seemed like they
I
had
think that
more.
starts with JJ though, because like JJ's dispossessed there, and then he does not apply the counter press and throws his arms up, all pissed off.
Yeah.
And I think looking for a call that I didn't see. I don't think he was fouled in any way, shape, or form leading up to that. But I think when you see a real number 9 that's hungry and in form, you see them dispossessed and press back and try to win it back. But that was just non-existent.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about there are slides, like I said, in this one, and we will talk a little bit about some of the change in this team in terms of that area of the pitch for sure.
For sure. Oh, he retaliates, says Joe Burns. 12 minutes after that goal, J.J. Williams sees red for a ball that goes out of bounds, and he's being held by the Pittsburgh player and throws one hell of a haymaker elbow. Maybe broke that guy's nose. It was a pretty good shot, pretty good landing. They subbed that player out, shortly thereafter as well. But definitely a clear red. My biggest gripe with it, Pittsburgh player, not that it would have had any bearing, potentially on the result game or anything, but the Pittsburgh player should have been booked as well, as he had both arms around JJ in a bear hug, delaying the restart of the throw-in, which is by definition of the rules. And my guy Joe Burns, who's in the chat and is an official, did confirm that by the letter of the law, that's a yellow too. Semantics, I'm a former basketball official. I want the rules to be enforced by the book. That was my thing. I was very much like a rule guy, a book guy. And, it's just the USL championship referee standard not being consistent. I think it just always absolutely sucks. But I think the biggest thing, like Timmy just said in the chat, it's so disappointing from JJ. You're chasing this game. You leave your team down a man, and unacceptable.
Yeah. Do you think the ref was like, because yellow cards are given as a warning
He was weird with them throughout. He gave Amos one for when you hug your first girlfriend in elementary school, like that was a yellow card. And then there was a couple that were much more further on in your relationship that were not a yellow card. He was also named Matt. And, I will say the Council of Matts does not claim that referee that we had last night. We've had him a couple times, and I think he's just always kind of been bad. But I do think, Timmy says Amos's yellow was insanely soft. And it's just the consistencies that we see week in and week out. I'm not going to blame this one at all on the refs. I think this was just a lifeless, soulless, gutless performance by RIFC. It's totally on the players and on the coach on this one, not on the ref. I think like Joe saying this in the chat is absolutely monumental. He called him a shit official, and Joe never talks bad about officials. So I'm giving Joe a big fucking hug on Wednesday night. That's going to be absolutely awesome. But, I think as much as he was a shit official, we were a shittier team and a shittier coach team throughout this one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like maybe because he was like, oh, I got to give this guy yellow as a warning. But he's like, I think JJ just warned him clearly. Like, so you got the broken nose to show for it. So maybe you let him off a little easy there. Yeah, definitely should have been a yellow for the Pittsburgh player. But kind of
Matthew Thompson, not claimed by the Council of Matts.
All right, you heard it here first, folks. I think it's just an insane decision by JJ and someone who you think should be a leader on this team. Clearly out of frustration. Clearly, we know that none of the players are happy with what's going on. And while I appreciate that,
body language is very evident.
This is not the way to then get back at it. And it's also really annoying, right? JJ is now for a straight red going to miss 3 straight games, which means so far we've only had him for 8 out of 18 league matches, and a bunch of those he was just coming back. What do you mean just next game?
I don't know. Just clicking it.
All right. We have to figure this out. Maybe next game, maybe 3 games. I thought straight red was 3 games, but we shall see. But even the best case scenario, right? We'll have him for 8 out of 19 league matches so far this season. It's just really brutal for a team that's trying to build some form, trying to figure something out, and to continue to not have your best striker is insane.
Yeah. Joe did say, though, he's also the ref that wasn't when the Revs were knocked out of the by the Riverhounds in the Open Cup. So good background knowledge there, Joe. Probably knows with the referee knowledge. Like you said, JJ's trying to get back into the swing of things. He's really wants to score goals. Obviously, he's pretty upset with the team's performance if you've talked to him post-game at any of these matches. And, it's just an inexplicable way of kind of going about that and showing that, kind of pride and fight and getting back and kind of leaving your team out a little bit with it. But another big talking point for me, at least in the second half, was the quadruple sub that we saw in the 75th minute. We saw Aldair Sanchez come on, Clay Holstad, Danny Rivera, and Joe Brito. Ryan, Clay Holstad, we waxed poetically about on this podcast. He was RI Defiance's player of the season last season. He's the Roy Kent of this team. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. In a game where you're down 2-0 and you're down to 10 men and you've got a short week coming up and he didn't start, why the fuck would you bother putting him in? Why not just let that guy rest his damn legs and, kind of hope for better next time? You're chasing the game. You're down a man. Him impacting this one, chances are significantly low. Let that guy rest his damn legs. I hated that sub. I actually said I think Kevin Vang should have came on for him. We saw Kevin Vang later in this one, and we'll get to that with RIFC in 3 takes on this. But I really absolutely hated Kano for that Clay Holstad cameo in this one. I think that he should have sat out. I think that he should have gotten that rest. You know he's one of the most utilized players on this team, whether it's in the midfield, whether it's in the back line. Let that guy rest and try again next time. I absolutely despised and hated that sub.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one reason I could see for them doing that, and it's if the sports science people were like, there's some players who I guess they do better injury wise if they play more often, and maybe getting those 30 minutes into his legs was actually a good thing for Clay, like sports physiologically. Risking the
injury in that situation is what, obviously, knock on wood, we didn't see it, it didn't happen, but like even putting him out there, like God forbid something happened.
Yeah, no.
That risk just totally outweighs the benefits being down a man for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I think Timmy said, I was just happy to see Clay back in the midfield. Yeah, and under those circumstances, obviously. Yeah, I think that was just clearly one of those subs that everyone comes on just to almost like prove a point of like none of you were good enough. Everyone's getting the hook. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you for that one. If Clay got injured at this point, it would be knock on wood, like such a absolute. Like, what a cherry on top of all the shit that's been going on, but
even more of a death punch than every weekly death punch we receive.
Yes, exactly.
That one just absolutely irked me. It drove me nuts, and we'll talk a little bit more about coaching and stuff like that in a little bit. But final stats for this one, I guess the only thing later on in this one I mentioned was that Jackson did have that really nice diving save. That was really, really well done. I think it would probably be nominated for Save of the Week if this was a better match, but not to be for sure for this one. Final stats: Pittsburgh was actually outpossessed 52 to 48% by RFC. They outshot us 12-9. They had 7 on target to 2 for RFC. 1 big chance for Pittsburgh, 0 for RFC. They also missed a big chance. They completed 294 passes at 77%. We completed 314 at 76. 18 fouls committed for the Riverhounds to 14 for RAFC, and we had 4 corners to RAFC's 3. To Pittsburgh's 3. I'm sorry. So just like I said, getting at a loss for words with how we can talk about this team's shit performance. So instead of hearing my words, we'll hear yours, and we'll take it to the socials and, go from there. But on the Defiant 1636 Discord in the Tide Talk channel, Catherine Provost added her good. I don't know, man. Her bad was teamwork, and her ugly was, oh, JJ, no. Andrew Hill's good was 404. His bad was the soccer. His ugly is the vibes. And the vibes, Ryan, they just continue to plummet. There's just a lot of bad energy amongst supporters in the supporters group right now.
Matt, would you say the vibes are a thumbs down?
I would say the vibes are very much a thumbs down, but I would say that has nothing to do with wearing a fucking black t-shirt.
Well, the reverse of a thumbs down is a thumbs up. And if you're still listening here, give us a thumbs up on the all YouTube here. I'm really forcing that one in there tonight, guys. I'm sorry.
This content creator, look at him. We got a lot of viewers, so if you could smash that like button, we would definitely appreciate that. Our guy Leo O.
Wait, sorry, I gotta stop. Martin says the only way is up. Martin, I don't know if you were here in the beginning of the episode, Matt. I apparently thought that earlier this season, and boy, was I wrong. Because I would just be careful.
Martin, Ryan wrote an email. If you're not subscribed to the Tide Talk email, subscribe. Maybe you can find the archive where Ryan called it rock bottom about 2 fucking months ago, and here we are, almost at the rock bottom of the table. But yeah, Ryan always forces it in, as Andrew Quadras says.
This is a children's program.
No, we wear that explicit badge like a badge of honor, and if you say it again, I'll honor you again, Ryan. Game of Thrones reference. Come on.
I'm enough fumes here.
Leo had his good as semblances of an offensive spark early in a couple of dangerous corner kicks and Jojea's successful dribbles. So I do want to talk about 2 points that Leo made in his good, and then we'll get to the rest of it. Corner kicks for the first time this season. We kicked it at the big guys. We kicked it at the tall guys. That blew my mind. First time we've seen it all season.
I started cheering. My wife is laying there. She's like, "Oh, did they score? No, they kicked at the tall guys. That's all I cared."
Absolutely. And then Josea Quizera, friend of the program, watches the program, absolutely hates Ryan Haley. I do think was the lone bright spot. He looked very active. He was beating his man off the dribble. He looked very crafty on the ball. I think he had our best outfield performance of the night by far.
Yeah.
Would you disagree, Ryan? Do you want Jojea coming at you post game?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm saying this without the looming thought of Jojea talking to me at the post game, but the thing I think was really helpful for him, and I talked about this earlier in the season, was one of the issues we were having playing with the front three of him, a striker, and Noah at the wings was they were doubling up the wings really easily. So him and Noah just we're struggling to get by 2 people instead of one-on-one defenders. So for some reason last night, I couldn't like see exactly what we were doing to change that, but it seemed like he had more one-on-one opportunities and he was doing a great job getting by his defender for sure.
Yeah, for sure. 3 total shots, completed 26 of 38 passes, created a chance, had 1 of 3 shots on target, 63 total touches, 1 block shot, had 4 touches in the opposing box, and had 2 successful dribbles and 11 passes into the final third. I think it was much more of a Quizera performance from last season that we saw last night, where he was kind of creating stuff off that left flank. Very much needed in this RIFC team right now. But thank you, Leo, for that. Leo's bad was his inability to collect on long passes and tight quarter flicks. Route 1 can't work if the ball is always from runs or straight at defenders. Absolutely. Leo knows ball. If you are not in the Defiant 1636 Discord, it's worth joining just to hear some of Leo's ball takes. He's got some absolute ball knowledge for sure. Ugly was JJ's elbow driving the final nail into another coffin. I like that. That is, I wish that we could condense that into 3 for an episode title. His RIFC in 3 was wrong kind of fight. I'm sorry. Sarah had good the consolation margs and nachos after the game. Bad the game. Ugly the JJ red card and RIFC in 3 over this shit. Aren't we all, Sarah? Aren't we all? Thank you for continuing to making those jello and pudding shots for keeping us all kind of going and keeping our sanity. Matt Hands has a Riptide report out. Make sure you go check it out if you hadn't already. He I think without questioning put an RFC in 3 and called it a new low, despite Ryan's trying to say we were already beyond the low. Pawtucket J might have had one of the best overall takes all night. His RFC in 3 was FML. His good was a reggae band I like was playing today. Better, a minute and a half away from my house. Best, but instead of going to that perfect situation, I went to the guild, and there is a plethora of swearing, angry, crying, laughing, puking, angry, swearing emojis after that. Absolutely love Pawtucket J. I know he's usually in the chat too. Just really, really good stuff. Ryan O, RIFC in 3. Here it is, Ryan. As Timmy said earlier in the chat, I am an Ange Postecoglou disciple. Jaeger or bust. Is it time RIFC puts all of their eggs in the Jägermeister Cup basket, Mr. Healy?
So I just struggle with this at this point. Like, what does that even mean?
Fuck the league. Let's try to get a cup.
Well, I guess, like, what does that mean? And like in this world, like, are we currently doing something that we think like he should be like I guess I'm like, is he rotating right now? I don't understand. Like, I don't know that we're doing anything
That's also fair.
like,
I mean,
yeah.
To be fair, the other team that we're talking about in this wasn't either. This was all injury fronted as well. But
the other, okay, I'm gonna say something mean. I'm sorry. This is not.
Or do you want a Jaeger and bust?
Jesus.
Like Timmy wants to know.
Sounds like a Timmy Tuesday night there. So here's the thing. This is gonna be a little mean. There was a conversation earlier that was similar of certain teams last year. It was Crystal Palace won the FA Cup and Newcastle won the Carabao Cup in the English Premier League stuff. The thing, and then Spurs won the JV Europe trophy. With those things, like, I don't think any of those three teams, and you can keep me honest on this.
Fuck Ryan. I'm sorry I had to remove him from the stream for this moment, but all right, I guess we'll bring him back. It is what it is. How dare him? How dare he insult me?
You
Go ahead,
can't
Ryan.
use the admin, the host privileges like that. I'm just saying.
We have to have fun on this podcast, because if we didn't have fun on this podcast, what would it be? What would it be?
It's so dark. It'd be like a couple certain Twitter space out there. I don't think any of those teams were really like expecting to win the Premier League last year. We were expecting Real FC to potentially win the Player Shield and all this stuff. So the fact that
I think the lowest any one of the Tide Talk contributors picked them was third.
Yes.
Right? Like, we all thought top three or bust for sure. And we are busting all over it right now.
Keep going.
No, that was my shtick, but so
I may just move along. I don't know. Listen, a trophy would be fantastic. Would love to win the Jaeger Cup. I don't think winning the Jaeger Cup and getting, like, not making the playoffs or sneaking in this 8th seed would feel good. That's all I'm saying. I still don't think it would be a good outcome.
Nothing's gonna feel good, right?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Ryan, for making us bust all over Jaeger on that one. Matt Hands, RIFC in 3, all-time low. Good Quazera, bad second half. Ugly RIFC in 2025. Worst team in the league currently. Our good friend Martin had RIFC in 3, lost at sea. Taris, RIFC in 3, down the drain. There was no good. Taris says there was no good. No good. Bad. JJ
I'm actually shocked how many people did not take that option.
I guess his bad was JJ isn't the answer, which I will say, and I hate to be an outsider on this one, but we warned you. We did prerequisite. JJ coming back was not going to fix all of this team's problems, and I totally see it. But Jason Demers is throwing water. Joe Burns says, like, Siaha.
That killed me.
Martin raises a fair point to kind of bring us back to our being here. The only good thing right now, there is no relegation. So let's get this shit figured out before 2027 when Pro Rel kicks in. And then
we're dooming right now. Could you
we are
dooming if we're in a relegation scrap?
Oh my God. It would be the end.
It would be unlistenable.
Tide Talk out. We didn't even get to Terrace's ugly. Which was worse. So he put worse. Which there's still 12 more games of this shit to watch right now. Which dumbfounding, absolutely dumbfounding. Our guy Comet Pants was in the chat earlier. I hope he's still in there. Patrick McKenna, who writes the absolutely unequivocal pre-match essentials every week, posts them on Reddit and even shares them into the Rhode Island FC subreddit. Rhode Island subreddit, which is a gauntlet. And just ask for thumbs down, down votes. But he's maybe the bravest Tide Talk member we absolutely have in this one. But his RFC at 3, and I think, Ryan, you said this earlier, and it totally wins. This will be the episode title. Send the Coast Guard. We need some help. The boats are sinking. The fleet is down. We need some help. SOS. We are really totally there. Matt from Raising Anchor had the game's gone. Craig from Club Collector is RFC in 3. Kevin Vang played. Absolutely good in this one. Andrew Gobes, RFC in 3. Scott Went Yinzer, which is, a Pittsburgh, resident and kind of their local slang and shtick and all of that. So always love Andrew Gomes. He's always got some really good tidbits in there. And our guy, Andrew Quadros, rounded it out on the Defiant 1636 Discord with 2 RFC in 3s. Another unacceptable display. And part 2, what's the plan? And we'll get to what's the plan when we get to Ryan's slides, or we'll just doom some more on this one. But thank you to everyone who wrote in on the Discord. On Twitter, this one made me absolutely laugh out loud. Kevin FQB, his RFC in 3 was gutless fucking horseshit. I'll let that simmer. His good. This is what got me. It wasn't
the kids program like 4 minutes ago. Just incredible.
It wasn't the gutless horseshit that got me. It was his good. His good take, I think, was absolutely class. Maybe the best one we've ever seen here on Tide Talk, RIFC Nation, even back in the day. His good was, I'm not even able to read it. Saw a choo-choo. when I read that, I had just driven 4 hours back from New Hampshire. It absolutely killed me because I could picture Kevin saying it, and it absolutely just brought me to my knees. Good stuff there. Thank you for that, Kevin. His bad was RIFC, and it's ugly. We have to watch 12 more regular season games of this shit. Which I think we had someone in the Discord say that as well. Heading over to our Instagram. Booth Hill Brewing's RIFC in 3. Booth Hill Brewing, we're still waiting on the beer. Hook us up at the next tailgate. Come see us. We like beer. His RIFC in 3 was, are you serious? Good? Nothing. Bad? Everything. Ugly. Getting shut out and losing any and all composure. This squad is complete toast. Capitalized. This season is a wrap. They want nothing to do with the rest of this year. Harsh words, but I don't disagree. On Facebook, Jim Howard said there is no depth in the squad, so Kano can't field his best 11. He needs to save subs. Also Kano's fault. Clayton Novak added, we are easily the worst team in the USL. How do you go from the championship game to this objectively bad in 1 year with essentially the same squad? It has to be the manager, doesn't it? I'm searching every week for a reason we are so bad. Coach Kano is all I can come up with. I know I didn't follow the rules, but let's be real. There is no good right now. Clayton, I know a lot of people are starting to kind of share that sentiment, and we'll talk about this in a few for sure. Don Lindbergh replied to Clayton, I also place the blame on Kano. This team seems to do everything wrong. There is not a good roster, and I see no strategy, let alone simple fundamentals. And there was a little back and forth there. And our guy Santiago Restrepo was in the chat tonight. I agree 100%. Constant change of formations, playing players out of their regular positions. One of our biggest gripes here at Tide Talk, bad substitutions and lack of ideas on set pieces. There's good talent in this team, but he is not getting the best out of this team, and players don't look comfortable or happy playing under this system. I hate to put everything on the coach, but maybe it's too simplistic, but this is frustrating. So thank you to everyone who wrote in on all of our socials. We definitely appreciate that. And, we do try to criticize and do it fairly here on Tide Talk. That's what we are based upon. And we want to voice your fans as the voice, as long as you're doing it, respectfully. And I know that the hot seat's getting a little hotter for Kano. I don't see a point where this would, kind of come to blows during this season. I think that would be more of an off-season move, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But the lack of consistency and, kind of these mishmash lineups we've seen and confusing subs, not much or not really anything coming in on the transfer front. We've heard Dwayne Atkinson's been in for about a month from other outlets, but must be a visa issue, as I said last week. And, he's not been able to come out and help, but we are really lacking some depth. And I think we're seeing some complacency in players who are just not being pushed by squad, competition and making players better, making players earn their spot in the 11. I think it's a big fundamental problem with this team right now. You want to hit the slides?
Let's do it.
Slide time.
Hello, everybody. To continue the trend tonight of just upbeat and fun Tide Talk content, the question that we are posing, are we the baddies? So this is based off a meme that I always laugh at. But I think there's been this thing of all season we have just assumed that this team was actually really good. They're just not playing to their potential. And as the season continues to drone on, I am now becoming less convinced of that idea. So
do you think we have bad genes?
Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So as Matt Hands alluded to, if you look at points per game in the United States Soccer League Championship Division, Rhode Island FC is now the worst team in the league. And that is below our friends Hartford and Tampa and all these other teams that we have talked shit about all season. We are now worse than them. So let's all just kind of settle with that, right? Because people love to shit on Hartford. People love to shit on all these different teams. Like, we are currently worse than them on a points per game basis. And if you want to look at who I thought our rivals were going to be this season, Charleston and Louisville almost win every single one of their games. It is preposterous. Gator, I'm sorry. The podcast, we're trying to have fun. It's getting real hard. It's getting real hard here. So how did we get here? So if we look at these past 2 years, the thing about last year is our record wasn't great. We were the drawing a lot of games. We had the funny nickname, the Draw Kings. But there's
not funny. Not funny.
There's some underlying metrics that kind of showed that, hey, maybe there is a little something here that if the team ever clicked, they could get going. And I think it really all comes down to right now. We see it week in and week out. It's why this team is just not fun at all to watch. It's why it's just a miserable experience. But it really comes back to goals. So last year we scored 1.62 goals per game. We were third best in the USL. And that was reflected in our expected goals, which is the kind of data behind, depending on where shots were taken and kind of where they were aimed at on the goal, what is the expected outcome of said shot. We were sixth in the league there. Again, pretty good. So both the eye test and the data kind of matched there. Looking at this year, we are currently 24th, which, if you don't know, there are 24 teams in the United States Championship Division in the league here at 0.67 goals for per game. And if you're wondering of like, why has this been so boring to watch? That is why. And if you look at our expected goals for, it is 1.01. We are 20th there. So again, the eye test is unfortunately matching the data here. So the offense is really where I just keep hammering and coming back to. The defense is fine. We're giving up a goal-ish a game. Like, it's fine. Well, we need to figure this part out. Because quite frankly, like, if we start scoring some goals, that's will at least be a little bit more fun on the podcast. Let's be real. Like, we could lose some games 4-3, but at least we could have stuff to talk about.
Right. We'd be able to show more videos, have fun, talk about goals instead of doom and gloom on everything.
Exactly. So why can't we score? So there's kind of two big things that I've been centering on for a bit. If you've been listening to the show for a bit, these will stand out, but I also was kind of getting some new fun data to look at here. So in terms of big chances created, so these are chances that some data thing tells us are big chances where it's a very high chance of the team scoring. Last year, we had a ton of these. We were fourth in the league at big chances created. Currently, we are 21st. So again, as a reminder, there are 24 teams in the division. And then shot conversion rate. This one is a new one that I didn't know I didn't know there was data available for this until now. Last year we were second. So anytime we took a shot, we had the second best chance of converting it. This year we are 24th. So we are not creating opportunities to actually score the ball. Like, it looks that way if you actually watch the games. It looks like a miracle needs to happen anytime we get the ball in the final third for us to actually score a goal. It looks like we're almost intentionally making it harder on ourselves sometimes compared to some of the goals that we see other teams score.
We also don't shoot. And I know you and I went back and forth on this last season of, like, if you shoot, you create spillage, it leads to potential goals. We do not shoot from distance at all. It just doesn't happen.
Well, the weird thing, so my only thing with that, we shoot a lot. We actually have one of the highest shots per game in the league. It's just we only get almost none on target, which is wild. Currently this season, games with 2 or less shots on target is half of them. Like, we just cannot aim. Like, is an actual really weird problem.
Do we have to do that thing that was an Italian or like a German club did as a supporters group, where we make a bunch of arrows and like hold it behind the goal and point at it?
I'm not even kidding. At this point, it might be the best idea we have, because our black shirts are distracting. Maybe if we got arrows on those shirts,
depends who you ask. Depends who you ask.
Yes. Yeah. So
settle down, Boomer.
Yeah. But like, games with 2 or less big chances, 15 out of 18. Like 15 out of 18, we haven't had more than 2 big chances. Last season, we used to do that on average more than that. Games with 0, 6 out of 18. We've had so many games with just no shots on target, no big chances. Like, the Indy game was 0-0 on both of those, and I think that was one of the more disgusting performances here. So this is kind of one of the big areas right now. But one that we were talking about a little bit, I teased that this was a new way I started thinking about it, is like, what else has changed about this team, right? And it's the intensity. And I think this, I hadn't been thinking a lot about this from an offensive perspective, but it actually is pretty alarming. Turnovers in the final third. We always talked about how the press was a huge bedrock of this team last year, creating opportunities for us. Last year, we were second in the league. We're currently 8th. Not a massive drop off, but this one I think really shows like intensity, interceptions per match, like really jumping the route, like getting a guy. And then usually when you're intercepting, you're able to kind of start a fast break there. We are currently 21st in the league in interceptions from 6th last year, which is an absolute insane drop off.
And I'd like to chime in on this one.
Yeah.
We've been playing without a 6. We haven't had Haraval. We haven't had Ibarra. Ibarra started pretty much every game last season in this one. And I think playing without that 6, you don't have that disruptor that's able to jump routes and do those things.
And just for Gator's comment, I am very big fan of the eye test. I just like to look at the data to try to see if I can find a way to explain it, just to be clear. I do not think data or eye test are better than the other. I think they're a beautiful
and then to also talk about Gator's comment there, these stats aren't fucking fun. They are not fun.
No, very much not. Just to finalize this kind of tempo slide, tackles per match. Last year we were 3rd. This year we're 8th. And then these other two, I think these are actually the crazier ones in terms of like intensity. Last year, fouls per match, we were 17th in the league. We used to foul the shit out of the other team. We're currently 5th. And then we picked up the 10th most yellow cards in the league last year. We picked up the 10th most this year. We're currently 1st. So like we were a team that kind of came out and kicked your ass a little bit last year and then used that to our advantage on the attacking front. This year, it goes back to like where
the referees had a meeting about us.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a really nice meeting. But it's also like we just
it's first.
We last year had
we're in the middle. Sorry, yeah, I read it wrong.
No, fair. We had the 5th most fouls per match last year and the first amount of yellow cards per match. This year we're 17th in fouls per match and 10th. So we just aren't fouling people. We're not getting a lot of yellows. Normally it would be a good thing, but I think it also it's been showing in like we're a team that seems very easy to play against. It seems like a really nice day out for the other team. You can sit back. We're not going to create too many problems for you. We're going to let you kind of do your thing. We're going to just hold on to the ball. We're not going to be really aggressive with it. We're not going to make you uncomfortable. And I think it's such a weird shift in identity from a team that was never give up, really intense, high pressing, like really kind of that rock and roll style of footy that you see with like the gag press, things like that. So yeah, I think this one really stood out. And the other thing here, and going back to my original point, is like I think it's all year we've been saying like, no, this is the team that's super talented. Like they're gonna figure it out. And like, is this real? I think it is. Unfortunately, like last year, while we weren't winning a ton of games, we were 3rd in the FODMAP ranking. Our expected goal differential per match was 6th. Our expected points per match was 7th. There was some data that was like, this team is better than what's going on. They keep kind of drawing some games that they should have won. Like they're not like terrible. This year we're just bad. Like again, the data matches the eye test. 17th in FODMAP ranking, 11th in expected goal differential per match, 15th in expected points per match. Like we're just not good. We're not good. It's again, and it all comes back to the fact that like you can't win games if you don't score goals, and we are showing absolutely zero ability to do that.
Right. Well said. Good dig, my friend.
Do you want to make this even sadder? It keeps going. It keeps going, guys.
All right. Pull
again,
up the hard
just
stuff.
make sure.
I know we told you crack a beer in the opening, but if you have some whiskey, this is where you might want to pour 2 fingers.
Yep. So it's like, oh, is this real? This is our league form since June 1st. In the 8 games here, we have 5 losses, 1 win, and 2 draws. We have scored 4 goals in the 8 league games since June 1st. It's horrifying stuff that's happening with this team right now. So which is funny because I've seen some people today arguing like this isn't the time to panic. If this is not the time to panic, I don't know what.
The time to panic is already gone. I mean, I'll call it out as it is. We talked about this, before we came on. Our friend Tommy Quinlan, who we've had on, who is the play-by-play voice of RIFC on the radio, kind of called it hyperbolic to call this a time to panic, and that might have been misquoting, but that was essentially the gist of it. But like, this team right now is not making the playoffs. We are not making the playoffs. Get that out of your head. You don't have to book any travel plans. Sure as hell won't be at home, but Hartford, Birmingham, all teams that are going to keep going up and up, and we are going to keep falling down as we play like this.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Timmy trying to be optimistic, which good job, Timmy. I appreciate your trying. Saying that we're only 5 points out of 6th place or something like that. But the problem is we cannot get points are not even wins. Like a point is at a premium right now. Not even 3 points. A single
I
point.
would take a draw. I would take a draw nowadays.
Yeah, and
as
again,
much as we maligned it last year.
Yeah, and it keeps coming back to the whole thing of like you can't go into a game and say if we give up 1 goal, we are going to lose automatically. Like that is the current state of affairs. Is if we give up 1 goal, which is not a fair expectation on Jackson Lee or anyone on the defense. You should be allowed to give up a goal and feel like you could potentially be in this game. Currently, it's like might as well just all walk off the pitch after that. Like play to 1 and see what happens. So. Yeah, as everyone can tell, the vibes are low, and I don't think it's just because I'm sleep deprived. This is some really dire stuff.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrible. It sucks to see. Like we said, I think we all thought we would challenge for a supporter shield this season, and kind of go from there. But it's absolutely disgusting. It's soulless. It's gutless. We've seen the lack of fight and everything kind of drop from this team, and it's a really terrible watch. And what is the plan, Ryan? Kevin wants to know, what is the fucking plan? I don't see how we recover from this, how we make the playoffs and make a legitimate run like last year. I've said before, I think last year's Eastern Conference Championship, while it's great to get that, I think it papered over a lot of cracks. And I know you said stats have kind of talked a little bit differently about that. But I do think that there's I'm a basketball guy as well. I think there's a Cinderella team effect when you kind of get hot and get going into the playoffs. And I think we saw that last year with the RIFC first season. Louisville, I think, was very much we're in their head. We kind of had their number. It was a bogey team type job. But I think it papered over a lot of cracks that we have in this team defensively. I think chance creation has always been a pretty big issue. I think players in the system and fitting the system fit has always been a really big issue. And I think we have to talk Kano as a lot of that right now. It's, I don't know what job he's done worse at this year, GM or coach. And I think a lot of people say coach because it's the more outwardly facing, but you brought in a Maxi Rodriguez, you brought in a first team all league player. You brought in Hugo Bacharach, who you might have known was hurt and you might not have, but the jury's out on that one. He's shown some good signs. He's also, had those floundering moments like last night. But what else have you done? You've gone more than halfway through the season without strengthening the squad, which clearly needs it. You reportedly signed a player what might be on visa issues, who's more of a central midfielder / winger than an out-and-out winger, which I still think we truly need in this squad. But I think without bringing in new players, new blood to kind of fuel the fire underneath the players that we have, complacency sets in. And I think a lot of these guys are, they have no competition to, do better because what's behind them simply isn't better, just the makeup of the lineup. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with this roster construction right now. Like Kevin Vang, awesome kid, awesome guy, is not going to push Clay Holstad or Maxi Rodriguez for minutes. You loaned out Isaac and, kind of hope, and Isaac had a goal in his first match for Forward Madison. So, big shout out to him, but you didn't replace that depth. There's nobody challenging there's no one on the bench challenging any player for minutes right now, in my opinion, in this squad.
Yeah. I think the thing that is confusing about this team at this point is the core of the team is the same individuals who made that run. And I think what made us such a bogey team to someone like a Louisville is, again, we were a pain in the ass to play against. We had some.
It was that physicality, right?
Physicality. And we have, like, most of those players. I think we've added somehow, like, maybe more physicality, you could say, with someone like I think like Rio's pretty physical out there. I think Amy Abika is physical out there. Maxi is known for his intensity, dual winning, things like that. So it's kind of confusing where it's like the additions kind of fit that mold, but the entire team identity and culture and core has completely shifted away from that. And I struggle because I'm like, is it coaching? Is it the locker room? Like, what is it about that could
something's not right? Something's not right
Mm-hmm.
internally. Something that we'll never hear about as fans, like insiders might know about, but like something you've played soccer your whole life. I've played sports. I've coached my whole life. Like you can tell when something is up with the team and something is up with this team.
Yeah, and it's weird because we've seen them have multiple, like we've heard of player only meetings, like after like the 4th game of the season. We saw after last match, like Koke brought all of them in after the Hartford game and they talked before they came back out to Autograph Alley. And it's confusing. Like you talk to any of them individually and like they all agree that this is bad. So it's just confusing though. And then you go kind of look at this and see what's happening. And we know they're a team that can get results in this league. It's bringing most of the team back. Like there's a benefit to that, but then to see like almost the benefit you'd expect of a team that already have been kind of gelled together and they have a real clear style and they know how to play with each other. It just seems like they're like strangers every week in some way. So yeah, if it's getting to the point where like we joke about like doing these shows and doing slides and how it's getting really hard to talk about, but it's getting really hard to talk about because it's almost unexplainable at this point of how what we saw last year has turned into this, especially with like keeping the majority of the core. Like I think it was 10 out of the 11 players who started in the final are back, and then adding in a Maxi Rodriguez who fits all the both the talent and skill profile, but also like the leadership intensity in that profile into this mix. And you only thought it could go up. Again, as we said, our expectations are super high for this team. So yeah, I'm at a loss. Like I'd love to try to pull data together to explain all this stuff, but I genuinely, you asked for what's the plan. I don't know at this point. I genuinely don't know.
I have a more cynical take on things, and I know you disagree with this. And we keep hearing on broadcasts, we keep hearing from commentators about how talented the squad is. But like I said earlier, with my the Cinderella team effect, is this team that that good? Do we have all that talent, or is it like USL Championship is long known as a league that if you didn't make it in the MLS Next Pro, you came to? And are we just starting to see more and more of these flaws in these players? I think last year, I really think that Cinderella effect, it was the new team, don't have our own stadium yet. We're building one. It's this whole big project, the buzz around it. I think that kind of fueled some things. Now that we're in the stadium and no disrespect at all to Defiance and La Banda and all of that, because they do an awesome job. The atmosphere in Tidewater is nowhere near close to as good as it was in Bern. And I will die on that soapbox. Bern was louder. It was just more on top of the field. I think a lot of that had to do with the training center that the sound reverberated off of. But the atmosphere in the stadium, it's kind of echo chambers that go to die. The club pull the supporters' colors and drums and smokes and all of that once. So you got to strike against the club as far as what they're doing to back their supporters and the supporters groups. But for me, the match day, the march to the match, I think is awesome. It's incredible. But I think once you get inside the stadium, it's a step down from what it was at Bern. It's not as loud. It's not sold out. It's not as many people kind of in the same amount of space or in a smaller amount of space that really makes the noise echo and make everything louder. But I think that it's kind of growing pains of getting into this new stadium. And I think that, maybe some of these players who we had a really high regard for weren't really kind of as good as we thought they were coming in. And we're starting to see a lot more of their holes now versus a lot more of what positively they can do for this team.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said to start this, I'm not there on that one. They're a talented team. I do think there's some glaring issues in terms of recruitment and like in terms of the profiles that we've had.
And that's why I started with, the Kano GM versus coach conversation, which I've said it to you. And I think it's really tough to be a head coach in your first year at any kind of level, but to also have that responsibility of being GM is just an added, couple pounds to the crown, if you will. And I think Kano is very much a loyalty guy and brings in these players that he has some kind of affiliation with. And to me, it's starting to come across as I'm going to bring in yes men and guys that'll come in and do what I say and want to implement my system. And you've had a lot of them for over a year and a half now. And I think that message might be getting lost.
Yeah. I don't know about, I get your point. I know
it's more of a doomer point, but like
no,
it's questions that you start to raise internally, seeing this team's performance week in and week out.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that's confusing with that is like you're bringing people in to play your style, but like, what is the style? Because it's like at this point, I have no idea what the style is. I don't really understand what
and maybe style might not be the right word for that, but you're bringing in people that you're familiar with and you have a familiarity with, and that you might think that like, if I tell you to do X, you're going to do X, versus if I tell you to do X, you're going to do Y, which is kind of brings me back to my Maxi point from earlier of like, I think there's a very big disconnect between Maxi and Connor right now.
Listen, I would love if he brought in more people he was very aware of and could play the things that he's trying to do with this team. Because I think we're missing because we've heard that he wanted to play a 4-3-3 and he wanted to play this possession style, and I just don't think we have the pieces to do that at this point. So that's what's even more confusing is like, because Coach Kano wants to play the style, and then GM Kano is not getting the players to then facilitate said style. So if he knows some guys out there that's like a tricky winger or two, or someone like a really like great dribbling midfielder or something like that, like I would love for Connor to bring that guy in. But yeah, I think it just goes back to like our and we've already done slides and things about this like throughout the season of just like our squad setup is an absolute mess. The first time we talked about it was the fact that we had like no center backs left, and Clay and Haribow were playing at center back a bit. Now we have 800 center backs and 8,000 midfielders, and we have basically nobody up top. So again, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Atkinson's coming in," and like, great, if he does, awesome. I'll cheer my ass off for him, just like I do the rest of the squad every week. But it's just like at this point, is one guy really going to solve everything that's going on? I just can't imagine.
Yeah, it's just a tough watch. It's a lot of bad stuff right now, and we can only hope things will turn around. But the clock is ticking, and we are running out of time to really make a points push and get into the playoffs. And right now, if you had to ask me, and I'll get your take on it, Ryan, as well, but I think this team finishes 9th and misses out on the playoffs.
That'd be wild. Wild, but also like the most likely outcome right now.
All right.
What if they win the Jaeger Cup? Are you going to the parade?
Oh, fuck yeah. Cue the duck boats. Let's do it.
Get the kayaks in the river.
That's it. But next up, we got a Wednesday night home match versus Detroit City and everyone's least favorite supporters group in the USL Championship, despite what outsiders might tell you. Detroit City make their way to town, and some Northern Guard supporters will confuse their A's and O's again, I'm sure, throughout this one, and further sanctions will probably ensue by a spineless front office who won't back the supporters group. Any expectations for this match versus Detroit, Ryan?
So the weirdest part about this is Detroit is also like absolutely in horrible form.
They suck too.
Yeah, but what's shitty is previously I would have been like, oh, we're gonna crush them because they're in horrible form.
Great question from Hands in the chat. Do you think Kano benches Maxi for the DCFC game?
I would like him to bench Frank Nadarce for that game so that he doesn't push a guy in the face, get a red card 2 minutes in again. I really hope not. Maxi was really fired up last time to play them, and then he was yanked almost immediately because of the changes needed for Frank. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think Andrew Quadros talked about this, like what's our best 11 and like what's he gonna do? I have no idea what's gonna happen every week, and normally that would be like a good thing because you're like how could like it's good for the other team not to be able to prepare. But I think it's at the point where we're also not able to prepare for what's going to happen. So I genuinely have no clue what is going to happen in the game. Most likely a 0-0 absolute dog shit Wednesday night game.
I might even wear black again just to, kind of show I'm upset.
I would have worn the white kit if I didn't realize I bought a size too big. So
I think I'm actually going to pick mine up tomorrow. I think one of the funnier bits was Matt from Raising Anchor asked in the Defiant 1636 if the white said that the white kit was cursed, and Andrew Hill responded, "Aren't they all at this point?" It's like
there's no good kit this year. There's no good kit.
You can't
If
get
you
away
did
with
points
it.
per kit, they're all just like
Shit.
under one.
Absolutely. But I think that'll wrap things up for this one. Remember, Tide Talk is more than just a podcast. You can find us on all the socials at Tide Talk RI for our daily content. Make sure you smash the like button on this video if you haven't already. Ryan, any final thoughts?
Guys, if we get 3 points Wednesday, look out. Look out.
Don't let us get one.
Don't let us get hot. I'll tell you that much.
Oh man, as always, great show. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, Tim Sheldon, our guy. Thank you, Matt and Ryan. We appreciate you, Tim. What a great dude.
Martin wants a 4th kit. That is Martin. That is a tall task, my friend.
It took so much bitching on Twitter to get a 3rd. So much. Martin, I'll send you a video of my tweets on all of it. It's pretty incredible, but it's good stuff. But thank you again for everyone who tuned in. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. We'll see you Wednesday night. We'll see you at the tailgate. Can't get any worse, can it, Ryan?
I'm just gonna sleep until then. Just can't wait.
That's it. Thanks
Also,
for joining.
yes, to be clear, yes, it can. So I'm not gonna rate that as a newsletter headline tomorrow.
Joe Burns wants to know, give us a preview, Timmy. Does Vang get a 10 for making the pitch? Timmy.
If you close out
He's
already.
slow in the chat. If he closed out already, I'm going to. Oh, he's one of our own. All right, guys, that'll put it in this one. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for joining. And as always, up the tide.
Up the tide.